when Jacob saw that there was grain in Egypt, Jacob said to his sons,
"Why do you look at one another?"
That's a question we still have, right? Was the famine across all the earth or only in this region? Right? I still don't have the answer to that. Because it was not just a famine in Egypt. It affected Jacob also. So, hey, let's look at a map. Where was Jacob at this time? And they said from the land of Canaan, right? Let's look at a map. Egypt to Canaan. Canaan. Okay, so all this area. Egypt, and then Canaan was up here. Okay. Egypt. So that means if they didn't have food over here, and they didn't have food over here, that means this whole entire area didn't have food. Everywhere in between didn't have food. So how far did it stretch? That's a big famine.
Indeed, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down to that place and buy for us there, that we may live and not die.
So Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Egypt. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother, Benjamin, with his brothers,
lest some calamity befall him.
And the sons of Israel went to buy grain among those who journeyed, for the famine was in the land of Canaan. Now Joseph was governor over the land, and it was he who sold to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him, with their faces to the earth.
There we go, that dream came true.
Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke roughly to them.
"Where do you come from?"
"From the land of Canaan to buy food."
So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him.
Yeah, it must have
Then
been years,
Joseph
right?
remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them.
"You are spies.
And you're just not expecting
You have come to
it
see
at
the
all.
nakedness of the land."
Joseph is honestly
No, my
petty
lord,
for this.
but your servants have come to buy food.
We are all one man's sons. We are honest men. Your servants are not spies.
"No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land."
Your servants are 12
The
brothers,
nakedness of the
sons
land.
of one man.
Why the nakedness of the land? What does that mean? 42:8. Doesn't say. Nakedness of the land, I would assume that how much grain they have, right? How barren the land is. I mean, all the grain is stored away, and the land is naked and barren. So maybe that.
And in the land of Canaan. And in fact, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more.
"It is as I spoke to you, saying you are spies. In this manner you shall be tested. By the life of Pharaoh, you shall not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you shall be kept in prison, that your words may be tested to see whether there is any truth in you. Or else, by the life of Pharaoh, surely you are spies."
So he put them all together in prison 3 days. Then Joseph said to them the third day,
"Do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house. But you, go and carry grain for the famine of your houses, and bring your youngest brother to me, so your words will be verified, and you shall not die."
and they did so. Then they
I just want to point this out. We were talking about when we were reading Mark, right? How Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights. And I mean, if we disregard the 3 days and 3 nights, right? Right, he supposedly died on Good Friday and rose on Sunday, right? So that's only 1 day in between, Saturday. But he was supposed to be dead for 3 days and 3 nights, right? So how do we work that out, right? And then we were talking about how one of my uncles said that each day, if he was dead on Friday, you would count Friday because he was dead for a portion of Friday, right? And then you would count Saturday, and then he rose on Sunday, but he was dead for a portion of Sunday, so you would count Sunday, right? And over here, I mean, that still doesn't reconcile the 3 days and 3 nights because that's being explicitly 3 days and 3 nights, right? But so if we just disregard that, just so I can make this comparison right here. So he put them all together in prison 3 days, right? So they were in prison for 3 days. But on the 3rd day, Joseph said, okay, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, but you go and carry grain for the famine of your houses. So that 3rd day was not a full 3rd day. So they weren't really in prison for 3 days. You see what I was getting at? Yeah. I just wanted to make that connection so we have some context in how they calculated days, right? So when they were saying they were together in prison for 3 days, it was not literally 3 full days. They were just in prison on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, right? And then they got out on Tuesday, so they counted that day.
Words will be verified, and you shall not die.
And they did so. Then they said to one another,
We are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore, this distress has come upon us.
And Reuben answered them,
Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the boy, and you would not listen? Therefore, behold, his blood is now required of us.
But they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them and wept. Then he returned to them again and talked with them.
Would you be able to do this? I don't think I'd be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to do this. Man, I mean, they're talking about Joseph right here, right? We are truly guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore, this distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the boy? And you would not listen. Because Reuben was the one who said, just keep him in the well, and then we'll figure out what to do, take him out, and whatever, right? But the others are the one who wanted to kill him, and then just came and then decided to just sell him off into slavery. So hearing that, Joseph was got emotional. But man, I wouldn't be able to keep up this act.
And he took Simeon from them and bound him before their eyes.
Just to take revenge,
And
put them in
Joseph
some
gave
anguish.
a command to fill their sacks with grain, to restore every man's money to his sack, and to give them provisions.
I mean, it was not just that. He wanted to see if they truly had changed, right?
For the journey. Thus
I mean, we'll find out if that's true or not. Man, I'm pausing it so much. Oh, let's just keep going.
he did for them. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain and departed from there. But as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey feed at the encampment, he saw his money, and there it was, in the mouth of his sack.
My money has been restored, and there it is, in my sack.
Then their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, saying to one another,
What is this that God has done to us?
Then they went to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, and told him all that had happened to them.
The man who is lord of the land spoke roughly to us and took us for spies of the country.
But we said to him, We are honest men. We are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is no more, and the youngest is with our father this day in the land of Canaan.
Then the man, the lord of the country, said to us, By this I will know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for the famine of your households, and be gone. And bring your youngest brother to me, so I shall know that you are not spies, but that you are honest men. I will grant your brother to you, and you may trade in the land.
Then it happened as they emptied their sacks, that surprisingly, each man's bundle of money was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of money, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them,
You have...
So Joseph gave them the grain for free. But then they were like, whoa, they got scared because they didn't want to be involved in some miscommunication.
Have bereaved me. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and you want to take Benjamin. All these things are against me.
Then Reuben spoke to his father.
Kill my 2 sons, if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will.
Joseph.
Wait. Then it happened as they emptied their sacks that surprisingly each man's bundle of money was in the sack, right? But then Joseph said, But this I will know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for the famine of your households and be gone. Okay. So they did get some food. But then he says, I will grant your brother to you, and you may trade in the land. Right? By this I will know that you are honest men. Leave one of your brothers here with me. Take food for the famine of your households and be gone. And bring your youngest brother to me, so that I shall know that you are not spies and that you are honest men. I will grant your brother to you, and you may trade in the land. So they got some grain or some food for the famine, and they're going to come back so they can trade for more. So yeah, Joseph is doing them a solid, I feel like. They're getting some famine, take some food, right? For free, because Joseph kept the money. I mean, Joseph gave them their money back, and they're gonna come back and trade for, I'm assuming, more than just food, but I'm pretty sure they'll just trade for food.
Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and you want to take Benjamin. All these things are against me.
Then Reuben spoke to his father.
Kill my 2 sons, if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I will bring him back to you.
My son shall not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any calamity should befall him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to the grave.
Now the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass, when they had eaten up the grain which they had brought from Egypt, that their father said to them,
Go back, buy us a little food.
But Judah spoke to him,
The man solemnly warned us, saying, You shall not see my face, unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. For the man said to us, You shall not see my face, unless your brother is with you.
Why did you deal so wrongfully with me as to tell the man whether you had still another brother?
The man asked us pointedly about ourselves and our family.
Hey, Joseph wants to see if they're honest men. Jacob. Jacob. Why are you telling them to lie?
Saying, "Is your father still alive? Have you another brother?"
Right? So, okay, it was Abraham, and then Abraham had Isaac and Ishmael, and Ishmael had Jacob and Esau. All right. And Jacob had Joseph, Benjamin, and all the other.
And we told him according to these words. Could we possibly have known that he would say, "Bring your brother down"?
Then Judah said to Israel, his father,
Send the lad with me, and we will arise and go, that we may live and not die. Both we and you, and also our little ones. I myself will be surety for him. From my hand you shall require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not lingered, surely by now we would have returned the second time.
If it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best fruits of the land in your vessels and carry down a present for the man. A little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachio nuts and almonds. Take double money in your hand.
Come on. I thought we were in a famine here, right? And they have food. And you're giving away honey, spices, myrrh. Myrrh is not food. Pistachios, almonds. Come on. You're that worried. I guess. But why are you giving food to buy food? Right? I guess pistachios and almonds and spices hold more than if they're just going to get grain, right? And grain will sustain them longer than some nuts and spices. Probably.
And take back in your hand the money that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take your brother also.
Double the money and the money back from the previous time.
Go back to the man. And may God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may release your other brother and Benjamin. If I am bereaved, I am bereaved.
So the men took that present and Benjamin, and they took double money in their hand, and arose and went down to Egypt, and they stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the steward of his house,
Take these men to my home, and slaughter an animal, and make ready, for these men will dine with me at noon.
Then the man did as Joseph ordered, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. Now the men were afraid, because they were brought into Joseph's house.
It is because of the money, which was returned in our sacks the first time, that we are brought in, so that he may make a case against us and seize us, to take us as slaves with our donkeys.
When they drew near to the steward of Joseph,
Oh, so Egypt had slaves at this point, but just not solely Hebrew slaves, I'm assuming.
House, they talked with him at the door.
Well, everybody had slaves. Even, I'm sure Jacob had slaves.
Of the house.
But I feel like slaves, it was different, right? I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize it, right? Like Abraham had slaves and stuff. I'm assuming that it's like, yeah, they work for you for free, but they get you're protected by the tribe. You're provided a shelter and all that stuff, right? Because back then it was different. You don't have like careers, right? You're just trying to fend for yourself. And if you get to be a slave of some rich guy, that's cool, right? You get food, you get protection, you have a place to stay. You belong to a group instead of being out in the desert by yourself, right? It's not like people were paid wages back then for their work, and then they started their own businesses and went off and did on their own thing and everything. People wanted to be in communities because it was safer. So, yeah, and being a slave doesn't necessarily mean that they were treated poorly, right? So when they speak about slaves like that, that could be different than how the Hebrews became slaves of Egypt. I'm just guessing. I'm just thinking out loud. Let me know what you guys think down below.
Oh, sir, we indeed came down the first time to buy food, but it happened when we came to the encampment that we opened our sacks, and there, each man's money was in the mouth of his sack, our money in full weight. So we have brought it back in our hand.
And we have brought down other money in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks.
Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. I had your money.
Then he brought Simeon out to them.
Okay, Joseph. So Joseph is saying that, you gave me your money. I have your money. That was a gift from God, looks like. God put treasure in your sacks. Okay, Joseph.
And brought the men into Joseph's house and gave them water, and they washed their feet, and he gave their donkeys feed. Then they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they would eat bread there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him the present, which was in their hand, into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. Then he asked them about their well-being.
Is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke? Is he still alive?
Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive.
And they bowed their heads down and prostrated themselves. Then he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son.
Is this your younger brother of whom you spoke to me? God be gracious to you, my son.
Now his heart yearned for his brother. So Joseph made haste and sought somewhere to weep. And he went into his chamber and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out, and he restrained himself.
Serve the bread.
So they set him a place by himself, and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with him by themselves, because the Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians.
Oh, okay, so there was some racial tension between the two already. Why? And then how does that work with Joseph being second in command of all of Egypt? Let's see what this Bible has to say. 43:32. 43:32. Abomination, right? This word can indicate the strong revulsion that something that might, a strong revulsion, something that might cause physical illness. That the Egyptians might have been repulsed by bodily hair. Huh? This word can indicate. So, yeah, I don't see why they're saying that. They're saying to look at 46:34, so we might find out a little bit later. Let me look at that up real quick. Because the Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination. For the Egyptians could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that was an abomination. Why was it abhorrent for Jews to eat with Hebrews? Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this chapter, I want to explore an interesting cultural detail as it serves as the backdrop for this story. So we are given a pretty detailed account of how the meal with Joseph and his brothers was served. Joseph ate alone, and his brothers ate together as a group. Finally, the Egyptian house servants were separated from both Joseph and his brothers. So we're talking about 3 separate dining rooms here. This matches up perfectly with what we know about how this type of meal would have been served in Egypt. Egyptian traditional customs indicated that the household head never ate with the servants. However, it's interesting that we're taught it was abhorrent to Egyptians to eat with Hebrews. Why? The answer is because the Egyptians viewed shepherds as a despicable lower class of people. The Hebrews, characteristic of most Semite groups, were shepherds. A shepherd's mere presence was offensive. Under no circumstance would an Egyptian ever break bread with a shepherd. Egyptians held cattle in high esteem, not sheep. This makes sense because Egypt's chief deity was Isis, who was a bull. This also explains why later on Israelites were given the land of Goshen to live in. Goshen was located far away from the majority of Egyptian population. There they could tend to their flock out of sight of the locals, thus avoid offending Egyptian sensibilities. Okay, in my Bible it was saying that it was because they were hairy. We'll find out with this in chapter 46. Yeah, this one's talking about the hatred of shepherds, refusal to sit with Hebrews at a table. Purity in response to defeat and foreign domination. Let's just read the conclusion here. I'm curious. This transformation of Egyptian culture happened in exactly the same time and under the same historical circumstances when the biblical texts were written that testified of a similar rise of Puritanism in Israel. Like Israelites and Judites, the Egyptians were conquered by the Assyrians, then ruled by the Persians. Only the Egyptians were spared the experience of exile. The anecdote in the Joseph story about sitting separately reflects this late stage of Egyptian culture under foreign domination. All right, we know about the shepherd thing now. Let me just read this part. When the brothers show up to Egypt for the second time, Joseph arranges for them to dine with him at the house. They served him by himself and them by themselves, and the Egyptians who ate with them by themselves. Because the Egyptians could not eat with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Egyptians. The claim that the Egyptians won't sit with the Hebrews is striking. In the New Kingdom and earlier, what's the New Kingdom? In the New Kingdom and earlier, in which the story of Joseph is set, no record exists of any such taboo. The Egyptians did have dietary restrictions, but no social restrictions about table fellowship. I'm curious, what do they say about the hatred of shepherds here then? When Joseph's brothers arrive in Egypt, Joseph offers them a way to remain together in Goshen. Okay, this is talking about 46, what we're going to get to. I guess we'll read it here. When Pharaoh calls you and says, "What is your occupation?" you shall say, "Your servants have been keepers of livestock from your youth, even until now, both we and our ancestors, in order that you may settle in the land of Goshen, because all shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians." Okay, well, there you go. Joseph is saying that the Pharaoh will force his family to live in Goshen, and not the rest of Egypt once he hears they are shepherds, because shepherding is an abomination to Egyptians. This claim is an interesting mix of fact and fancy. Shepherds did, in fact, live in the Nile Delta where Goshen is placed, and not in the rest of Egypt. This was not because of any taboo, however, but because pasture land was only to be found in the Delta, not elsewhere in Egypt. Or, okay, so this looks like it's coming from, but it says the Torah.com. But it looks, it's Jan Assman and Dr. Rabbi Zev Farber. It seems to be saying, okay, the Bible is not completely accurate here. It is some fantasy going on. This is the real reason. So it seems to be coming from a questioning mindset, right? But here's what I have to say. It says here, right? This was not because of any taboo, however, but because pasture land was only to be found in the Delta, not elsewhere in Egypt, right? And then what did Joseph say? When Pharaoh calls you and says, "What is your occupation?" you shall say, "Your servants have been keepers of livestock from your youth even until now. For both we and our ancestors, in order that you may settle in the land of Goshen, because all shepherds are abhorrent to Egyptians," right? So Joseph's goal is to settle in the land of Goshen, right? Because if they didn't say they were shepherds, the Egyptians would probably encourage them to assimilate with where Joseph is currently living in Egypt, right? But by saying that they're shepherds, they will put them in Goshen because they were abhorrent to Egyptians. But what's going on in the mind of Joseph and his brothers? They are shepherds, and they would like to be in a place that was a pasture land, right? So it is not necessarily saying that the reason why they settled in Goshen was because it was a pasture land. It could be that the reason why they settled in Goshen was because they wanted the pasture land, and they said that they were shepherds because they knew the Egyptians would say that it was abhorrent and put them in a place that was farther away. So they got what they want, and it just worked out because that worked out for the Egyptians as well, right? So to say that this was not because of any taboo is not necessarily true based on what I'm reading in the Bible. It could be true if you disregard what the Bible says, but it can be both ways. It could be that they wanted Goshen because it was pasture land, and the Egyptians wanted Goshen because the shepherds were born to Egyptians. So they just used that to get what they wanted as well. I'm going to put the link in the description for you guys to check out, because we didn't read this section and this section either. So you guys can check that out and read that too if you want.
And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men...
I wish Jacob saw that. What did it say? The firstborn according to his birthright? I wish Jacob saw that. I mean, everything worked out with Jacob and Esau. Esau got what he got, and Jacob was scared, gave him like a bunch of his wealth, right? So I mean, it all worked out in the end.
Men looked in astonishment at one another. Then he took servings to them from before him. But Benjamin's serving was 5 times as much as any of theirs.
Okay.
So they drank and were merry with him.
All right, that's it. End of chapter 43. Yeah, that was interesting. We had some stuff to look into. I'm going to put those links in the description. And I'll be uploading the video regarding Abraham in the Bible and the Quran tomorrow. So check that one out. Yeah. Yeah, today's was pretty interesting with that, what we looked into. So tomorrow we're going to check out chapter 44. Hope to see you guys there. And take care, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.